Hello, it's Dave here. Here to talk about the first Dave's Picks of 2019. If you subscribed, you're in for a really good one. If you didn't subscribe, that's what this video is about. Head to dead.net where you might be watching this and check it out. Clearly I'm not seaside, and you might be wondering why. It's a crazy rainstorm. When I'm filming this, you might have heard the Bay Area got some wild rain about a week ago, not even. I think a few days ago, and it's clearly moved up after some incredible weather in the Pacific Northwest. The rains have come back, which is fine. We need it. Keeps everything green for the spring. Anyhow, Dave's Picks Volume 29. You probably know by now, because we announced it about 3 months ago, it is from February 26, 1977, the first show of 1977. A lot to talk about, but point is, if you're interested in getting it, what I would suggest you do is put this on pause and head over to dead.net, unless you're already there, and get it, because the last ones, as you know, have been selling out pretty quickly. Less than a few hours, certainly less than a day. I think less than a couple of hours sometimes. So I think a show like this, I'd like to think they're all equal in one way or another, but this show in particular is a really, it's a big one. It's an epic one. It's a classic show. It's a highly sought after, and it's an exceptionally good show. There's so much to talk about. So this is a show, going back to my tape trading days in the mid-1980s, I distinctly remember the first 1977 show. Of all the 1977 shows you think about, it's a great one, the first one I got, but it's not one of the ones you'd expect. First 1977 Dead show I got was 5/15/77 in St. Louis, and Iko, a bunch of other, Great St. Stephen, Uncle John's Band, and I remember being on the city bus. I was taking the bus taking it to high school, so I was taking the bus number 7. And I was probably in grade 10, probably 1985. And I remember having the headphones on, and I'd listened to a lot of Dead at that time, but you know, 1985, 84, 85, my first couple dozen tapes were kind of the ones you'd expect. Fillmore East 70, 213, 214, Fillmore East 71, April 28th and 29th specifically, at Dane County Coliseum 73. I had some kind of random bits and pieces. Oh, I had 12/28/79, which I love. Great show. The third night of the New Year's run in 1979, the first run of New Year's run at the Kaiser at the Oakland Auditorium Arena. But I didn't know 1977 too well. And then, as we know, the Betty boards started kind of coming out, I'm thinking around 87 or so. And the first ones I got was Boston on 5/7 and Cornell on 5/8. Buffalo for me came a little later. New Haven I got 5/5. And then I got a couple from the Pacific Northwest in September and October of 77. So I was getting to know 77 Dead really well. And then after a few months of that, after this first batch of Betty boards showed up in my tape trading world, along comes 2/26/77. And it was a tape trader. I used to trade with a lot of people. Some of us kind of had a bit of a rule not to label the tapes, or kind of write it on the label, on the back of the labels, and kind of tuck it away. And that way, when you're, you know, Dead, this is 87. I didn't have a Dead bass yet. I think my first Dead bass was in 88 or 89. No, it was 88. And so we'd trade tapes, and I wouldn't know what to sell. So I put on 2/26/77, this brand new tape that I got. And I don't look at what it is. And I put it in tape 1. And on comes Terrapin Station in an incredibly confident arrangement, a little peppier than it might become later years, but nonetheless an exceptional Terrapin Station, as though they'd been playing it for many years. Well, as we all know now, this was the first ever Terrapin Station, and not only had they not been playing it for years, they opened the show with it, which I think really shows, you know, this is the Dead in 77. We all know about the Dead in 77. And the fact that they opened the first show of 1977 with a song as complex as Terrapin Station in the first ever performance of it, and they played it extremely well. And so this Terrapin Station, I listened to it and I said, how could this, I didn't understand what was happening. How could this be tape 1 side A? And then I realized along comes a lot more first set music. They love each other, and there's a Minglewood, and there's and then along comes Estimated Profit. I was like, what is this? You know, Estimated Profit, in my mind, was a launching pad. I had heard a few versions of standalone Estimated Cornell, of course, and a couple of shows like that, but mostly for me, Estimated was kind of the launching pad for the jam, whether it went into Eyes or into Drums or the other one or He's Gone or whatever. And here it is, a little standalone, again, very confidently played, a little 7-minute standalone, perfect little Estimated. So I said, okay, this is the craziest set. I think somebody mixed this up. And then along comes, there's a great deal on here too, by the way. And then the first set, this tape ends with Playing in the Band. I'm like, well, what is this, Playing in the Band? The only other play in the band from post-hiatus I knew that had a first set playing was New Year's Eve. The previous show, actually, the New Year's Eve at the Cow Palace, 12/31/76. Ended the first set with Playing in the Band. So, but I wasn't thinking about that. I was like, Playing in the Band into the Wheel. I was like, okay, this is the second set. Somebody's messed up with this Playing in the Band reprise, and then we'll be back in a little bit. So I said, okay, that was the first set. So my mind is suitably blown, as yours probably was too, and as it will be if you're hearing this for the first time when you get Dave's Picks 29, which I doubt it is the first time you've heard it, but if it is, you're in for a real treat. Or if you don't know it that well. The second set, Magnificence, straight through. A couple of the shorter songs, similar to in 76, where they'd open a second set with a couple of shorter songs, maybe Might As Well Samson or The Music Never Stopped or something. In this case, there's Samson and Tennessee Jed. Great Tennessee Jed too, really builds and really flows. And then The Music Never Stopped. You think, okay, this is really great so far, and all three of them are played exceptionally well. They're played. The band is clearly on this night, and good thing they were after a first set like that with Terrapin Station, Estimated Profit, both the debuts, then the Play and Wheel playing, and then after that they do this incredible Help Slip Franklin's, just soaring. I love it. This Help Slip Franklin's is so good. Somebody pointed this out to me. This is the third Dave's Picks in a row with Help Slip Franklin's. We did Boise, and then we did Capitol Theater in Passaic, and then this one. So pretty amazing. I can tell you with certainty, number 30 does not have a Help Slip Franklin's, as you probably know by now. And then so we get this great Help Slip with this terrific Franklin's, Promised Land. And then we get the show closing sequence. Totally unique, typical of the Dead at this time, where virtually every sequence was unique. Of Eyes of the World, and this great Eyes of the World. I just love this one. Really one of my favorites, honestly. For 77, it's certainly one of my top couple, and overall it's one of my top probably 10 in terms of it. If I had to like make a list for you now of my top favorite Eyes of the World, it would definitely be on there. And then it goes into Dancing in the Street, great jam on that, and then Around and Around. And great dancing. Around. So a couple rare things in the second set, and it's what I love about this show. It's so unique with the Terrapin and the Estimated and the playing in the first set. And the second set, there's no drum sequence, which is very strange at the time. They didn't do it every show at the time. You think of Cornell obviously didn't have one, but for the most part there was a drum break in 76 and 77, and there wasn't one at this show. And so that's a weird thing right there. And also there is no second set ballad of any kind. And there's no Wharf Rat or Stella Blue or Black Peter or Comes a Time or Terrapin Station obviously was played in the first set. Not that it's a ballad, but it's kind of a slower tempo song, the beginning in particular. There's none of that in the second set. Tennessee Jed is about the closest thing you can get to a slower song in this set. And it's not a slow Tennessee Jed. It's really, like I said, bouncing and flowing. So it's just an incredible with a U.S. Blues Encore. Now, this is part of the stash of tapes that the Grateful Dead that came home about a couple of years ago, about 3 years ago or so. As you know, shows like Cornell and a lot of other shows came back to the Grateful Dead vault. So they're safe at home now, which is great. This was obviously one of them. This is a show that I'm pretty certain would have come out a long time ago if it had been in the vault for many, many years. But it's kind of newly returned, so that's why it's coming out now. Now, in addition to that show, we also had come home to the Dead's Vault the next night, but only the 5th reel. It was a 5-reel show, so we only got the very tail end of the show, unfortunately, which is really too bad. Because the rest of that show, I've heard the audience tape of it, is really, really good, as you'd expect. But what we did find was the show closing sequence. I won't tell you too much about it, because it's really good. You might not have heard it too much because it's not a very well-known thing. But we've got the end of the show as they kind of come out of, well, they actually come out of Terrapin. there's some really good music. Only about, let me do a little thing, about 25 minutes of it, but we don't generally put filler, bonus material, whatever you want to call it, on the Dave's Picks. But this was a piece of music that, because we didn't have reel 1, 2, 3, and 4 of this great show in Santa Barbara the next night, 227, but we had this 25 minutes, and we had 25 minutes at the end of CD 3 on here, we figured this was the perfect home to put this piece of music on. So we're very happy with it. There's a Morning Dew on it. But it's really good. And then Rockin' Sugar Mag and the encore. So really good stuff. So check it out. This is Dave's Picks Volume 29. It probably will sell out pretty quickly. I'm sorry I'm here in my studio space. It's unfortunate that the weather is so rainy. I really wanted to do it down by the water, but it's just the wind and the rain has been really bad. I've just kind of been waiting it out. It's not getting any better, and the wind is bad too, so you wouldn't hear me either. So check it out. Go to dead.net. Great package in this one. A lot of clippings, Ed Pearlstein photos, wonderful ones, and Ed's such a great photographer. New artwork. It's a really good package. I mean, I think they all are, but I really like this one, and it sounds amazing. Jeffrey Norman, of course, mastered from the original master tapes, the analog master tapes recorded by Betty, HD CD, if that matters to you. So check it out. Go to dead.net. We'll see you back here in about 3 months with information about Dave's Picks Volume 30, which I'm just finishing actually earlier today. I finished proofing that, or finished proofing CD 3. I still have to proof the bonus disc on that. It's incredible. So we'll get to that in about 3 months, Dave's Picks Volume 30. But for now, Dave's Picks 29, February 26, 1977, the first show of the year at the Swing Auditorium in San Bernardino, California, in the Central Valley, I think you'd call it. I've driven through it. Beautiful place. Incidentally, the Swing Auditorium stayed open for a couple more years. As you know, well, maybe you know, the Dead played there a few more times. But in 1982, I think, 81 or 82, an airplane crashed into the Swing Auditorium, and it was structurally so damaged that they had to tear it down. And you can look at the history of the place. A lot of bands played there going way back. It was quite a venue, and great pictures online of it. It's really too bad that it met an end like that, as same with the pilot. So thank you for watching. We'll see you here. I really appreciate everybody digging the Dave's Picks and kind of commenting on the Twitter or the email or the YouTube thing or whatever this is. So thank you again. And head over to dead.net because it's going to sell it really fast, and I don't want you to get shut out of it because it's really good. Okay, see you later.